Fourth grade, I am here with my daughter and we are recording for the Square One art project that we have in mind for fourth grade. We are going to be thinking about stained glass, and classes have looked at some slides already of stained glass mirrors that have been created in the past. We're going to use a geometric design, so we'll pick a geometric shape to put in the middle of our Square One art, and then we're going to use horizontal lines and vertical lines to make up the rest of our pattern. Of course, the first thing you'll want to do is take a moment and write your name at the top of the paper. First name, last name, your grade, your teacher's name. That information will be useful because later we will send these images, these drawings, off to be printed onto merchandise that you and your family can buy for Christmas presents or seasonal gifts. They should all be ready to give away by Thanksgiving time. So we're making a point of filling this out with clear handwriting, and then we're ready to start planning our design. Now you could put in your image a triangle, rhombus. You could do a circle if you had a round shape to trace. Here on the kitchen table we have a round shape, but I want your central piece to be nice and large. My fist is a good size. Your fist, Lilia, would be too small probably. We want a shape that's a little bit bigger than that fourth grader to take up a big part of our composition. Today I think I will begin with a triangle myself. What shape do you want to do?
An octagon.
That's 8-sided. Good luck. All right, so we're gonna try and design our first shape. So Lilia drew her octagon first, free-handed, and then she took a ruler and straightened up her lines. We want to use rulers, or I was just using this envelope because it has a straight edge, to make my lines as straight as I can. Now after you have your main shape in the middle of your square project, we can start to add vertical and horizontal lines to create a stained glass effect. We know that stained glass is made up of lots of little shapes, and in between each shape is a strip of lead. So they call that black line in between each colored piece of glass. They call that leading. And we're going to draw our leading in, and then we'll color it with oil pastel. I'm going to put some vertical lines in, and I want variety. That's a big part of our design right now. So we want vertical lines and horizontal lines that don't go all the way across the paper. So I'm drawing some vertical lines in, and I'm judging by the edge of my paper what would be a vertical line based on what is on the edge of my paper. And I can turn my square and I can match my edge of my paper there, and I can make a corner here. I can make a corner here if I so choose. And I think I'd like some more longer lines. First, we're doing a few long lines on our pattern, and then we can fill in with some shorter lines as we go to break up the large space with geometric, well, with vertical and horizontal lines, really. We are just designing a picture, so there's no wrong way to do it. I want you to stick to vertical and horizontal lines. That way we have a stained glass look, sort of like Frank Lloyd Wright's stained glass work. Let's see here. think I'm going to make this line extend. Maybe I'll have this line come up all the way. So Lilia and I have both finished our geometric shape that is outside, our geometric leading for our stained glass that is outside of our shape. Now we also want to do some vertical and horizontal lines inside of our shape. So we're going to take another minute to design that space. Lilia and I have finished the vertical and horizontal lines within our shape and on the space around our shape. Lilia decided to do some diagonal work here. We'll see how it turns out. I'm sure it'll be fine. And the spaces here, there's none of them that are smaller than a penny, except maybe right here Lilia did one a little bit smaller than a penny. We don't want to get too small because we're going to be coloring in with oil pastels, and we know you can't get too small with those chunky tools. It's now time for us to go over our lines with a permanent marker, a Sharpie for most people, and we're going to make the lines nice and thick with black ink that represents the leading in our stained glass. Now that we have completed our marker work on our lines for dark leading, we're going to get into the oil pastels. Now, these are brand new this school year, and we should each pair of students get a complete set of oil pastels, but we're not going to use them all. We're just going to do a monochromatic color scheme on our stained glass windows. That means one color. Now when I say monochromatic, if I picked orange, I could probably get the red orange, and there's probably a yellow orange color in here too, and we might even get away with using a little bit of red and maybe a little bit of this brighter yellow. All of that could be considered monochromatic. They're neighbors on the color wheel, they're very close. We would not grab blue. We would not grab green. We wouldn't grab pink no matter how much we liked it. So decide what one color you're going to work with as your main color on your color scheme. Looks like Lily is choosing blue. And why don't I just go ahead with orange? So I've got a handful of warm colors. Mainly I want to work with orange. And I'm going to treat these very carefully because they are brand new and we don't want to foul them. You might know that the edge of your hand could get messy if you're working with oil pastel and you're resting your hand on the color as you work over it. So I'm going to start on my upper left because I'm right-handed, and upper left down to lower right, my hand's not going to smear anything. If you were left-handed, you might want to start up in the upper right-hand corner and move down. But I'm going to start in this shape right here. Is that a black? No, that's a blue. And I'm going to start coloring away with my oil pastel. I'm going to be careful, and I'd like all of the students to be really careful to do good work. Even though we color it with the pastels, that won't be the end. We have one finishing touch after this. Let's get started. I colored in all the outside shapes first, and now I want to work on those in the middle. I am going to keep on working with orange as my main color, but I've got a little piece of scrap paper here to put my hand on, so I'm not coloring all in here and smearing all those other colors with my hand. So I'm going to put my hand rested on this piece of scrap paper while I color with orange and finish out the middle of my design. Lilia and I have finished coloring our shapes, so we're going to put our pastels back in the box, nice and in line, in the same box they came out of, so we don't have any empty places. There should be 28 colors. Then we slide that back inside of our oil pastel holder. And the next class has something to use. Now we're almost finished, but the last thing involves something unusual. It involves oil and Q-tips. Now I'm going to recommend we start with the light colors. And I'm going to dip mine in, just watch, Lilia. I'm going to just take a little bit of oil and start on my lightest color. And when I touch down there, it should turn that oil pastel into a little bit of a paint. Is it working, Lilia? Does it turn in liquid? It sort of makes the drawing turn into a painting. And it fills in all those little white areas. Before we do any of the dark colors, do the light areas first, but go ahead and see what it's like to blend these colors like paint. We're really liking how the colors blend together when you use the oil. It mixes like paint. That's pretty exciting. I've been using just one end of my Q-tip on the lighter colors, and it's important to start with the lighter colors before you switch. Then we use the other end of our Q-tip for the darker colors. That way everything stays nice and clean and we don't smear our dark colors in with our light colors. So keep on finishing up these oil pastels, turning them into paintings by adding the oil that liquefies the color on your paper. You have anything to say? Not really. Here are our two bright and wonderful projects for Square One. My daughter Lilia's octagon project, my triangle here. And we're looking forward to finding out what our fourth graders can do at Fulbright. Later we'll get these reproduced. If you want to order some stickers or a keychain or a phone case with your art on it, give it away as a present later. All right.